The world is focused on the headlines. U.S. launches airstrikes on Iran. Fordo, Natanz, Isfahan. 3 of Iran's most critical nuclear facilities hit within hours. Former President Trump confirms, "We've struck successfully. Our aircraft are already out. Missiles have fallen." And yet, no one has declared war. But that's the point. The next World War won't begin with declarations. It will begin with algorithms. In the shadows of these bombings, an unspoken detail lingers. Multiple reports suggest hundreds of Chinese engineers and technicians were working inside these very nuclear sites. Why were they there? What were they building? No one knows for sure. And Beijing has said nothing. But silence doesn't mean inactivity. In China's playbook, silence is strategy. Today, war isn't just about soldiers or tanks. It's about networks, drones, and decisions made in milliseconds. The front line is no longer where the missiles land. It's where the data flows. And in this new reality, China may have already entered the war, not through force, but through systems already in place, ready to activate, without warning. While the West stares at the smoke rising from Iranian soil, China remains silent. No official statement, no condemnation, no visible movement on any front. But that doesn't mean China is uninvolved. It means China is moving differently, quietly, deliberately, and far ahead of the curve. Over the past decade, China has embedded itself deep inside Iran's strategic infrastructure, from oil pipelines to 5G telecom towers, and now nuclear and AI-linked military operations. What was once limited to energy cooperation has evolved into techno-military collaboration. Evidence? Iran's latest drones, not just kamikaze units, but adaptive, radar-evading swarms, bear clear design and behavioral fingerprints of Chinese-origin UAVs like Wing Loong 2 and CH-5. These drones don't just fly. They think, regroup, and recalculate mid-air, with help from Beidou, China's satellite navigation network. Iran may be the one launching them, but the code that tells them how to fly, how to kill, how to swarm, that may be made in Chengdu, not Tehran. Beijing doesn't need to fire a shot. Its influence is already baked into the battlefield. In the silicon chips, in the swarm logic, in the satellite signals quietly blinking above the Middle East. The images are haunting. A swarm of drones rises over Iranian skies. They move like a school of fish, fluid, unpredictable, coordinated. They dodge anti-air fire, shift formation mid-flight, and hit their targets with near-perfect precision. This isn't just a drone strike, it's an algorithm at war. Iran's drone program has evolved faster than any analyst predicted. And while official sources credit local innovation, the design language is unmistakable. The wingspan, the engine configuration, the AI combat behavior, all point to a foreign influence, specifically Chinese influence. China's most advanced UAVs, Wing Loong 2, CH-5, are not just aircraft, they're combat ecosystems. Autonomous flight modes, real-time mission updates, swarm coordination via Beidou. These systems train together. They learn from each mission. They adapt, in real time, using data relayed from satellite and ground nodes. And Iran's newest swarms? They move with the same logic, same tactics, same reflexes. So the question is no longer, is China selling drones to Iran? It's, is China embedding military AI inside the region, without ever stepping foot in the battlefield? Iran may press the launch button, but the thought behind the action, the pattern, the logic, the swarm, is unmistakably Chinese. So far, China has played the quiet game. No military posturing, no fiery press briefings, but war doesn't always wait for a formal entrance. And missiles don't discriminate. According to unconfirmed intelligence, there may have been hundreds of Chinese engineers and technicians working at the Fordo, Natanz, and Isfahan nuclear sites, the exact locations hit by U.S. airstrikes. Beijing hasn't confirmed it, but they haven't denied it either. What happens if Chinese citizens were killed? Would China retaliate? Would they call it an act of war? Or would they do what they've always done best? Respond without warning, without fingerprints? Because the mechanisms are already in place. Drones stationed near the region. Swarm AI on standby. Beidou satellites fully operational over Middle Eastern skies. It would only take one data packet, one satellite ping, one swarm ignition protocol. And suddenly, Iran's next drone retaliation looks 10 times smarter, faster, more surgical. The world might say, Iran has improved. But the real answer might be, Iran isn't flying alone anymore. China doesn't need a battlefield press release. If it suffers damage, it may strike back through code, not cannons. Western militaries still think in terms of borders and flags. Will China join the war? Will Beijing deploy troops? These are the wrong questions, because China isn't preparing for a conventional war. It's building something far more scalable, a battlefield made of networks, not nations. Let's break it down. 1. Drone layer. Thousands of unmanned vehicles ready to deploy from anywhere, ally or proxy. They're cheap, fast, disposable, but deadly in numbers. Second, decision AI layer command algorithms trained on millions of battlefield scenarios. They update in real time, prioritizing targets, adapting swarm behaviors, even simulating enemy response. Third, execution swarm layer. A coordinated strike unit of drones, acting in unison. They don't wait for human orders. They react to data. They self-adjust. They learn with every mission. All of it is synced through Beidou, China's satellite network that doesn't just locate, it calculates. This isn't a war you'll see announced. You'll just see outcomes. Infrastructure failing, defense systems overloaded, and drone footage showing destruction without any clear attacker. That's not a glitch. It's design. China's battlefield isn't coming over the horizon, it's already above you. Watching, coordinating, waiting. The loudest empires often fall the fastest. Today's headlines shout about missiles, counterstrikes, and military movements. But China? China says nothing. It doesn't need to. Because in the world of AI warfare, words are delays. Silence is acceleration. While other nations escalate through speeches and sanctions, China escalates through systems. AI training models, refining thousands of combat scenarios daily. Drone production lines running non-stop. Real-time feedback loops from partner nations like Iran and Russia. Every drone launched by someone else becomes a learning node for China. Every battle it doesn't fight directly becomes data it owns. By the time an adversary thinks of retaliation, China has already adjusted the algorithm. Its weapons are invisible, scalable, and nearly impossible to trace. You don't see them coming. You only see the aftermath and realize you've been outmaneuvered by silence. So while the world watches explosions, China watches information. While others shout, it calculates. Because winning doesn't require firepower, it requires predicting the moment others misfire. And by then, it's already too late.